Okay, today we're going to talk about multiplication, and we are going to start by looking at problem set 1E10. It says I have 3 copies of 2/10. What do you think that means?
Like it's 2 times 3 times.
2/10 3 times? Anyone have any other ideas?
2 times to the power of 3.
2/10 to the power of 3? Ooh. I like how you're throwing in those exponents. Okay. Yeah, it would be 2/10 3 times, or power of 3. Actually, power of 3 would be 3 times. Well, that's another story. Okay. So if we have 3 copies of 2/10, I could do it this way, which could be a really easy way. So I don't have to like mix up all my circles. I could put 1, 2, there's 1 set, there's 2 sets, there's 3 sets. I could do it that way. Or I could just do my dots, because we have 2/10, right? There's 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets. So I think one thing that some of us are having confusion with is when we do this on the place value chart, which is invaluable, you should always use it, especially if you're kind of having a problem with remembering where things go, is that this is the way your number looks. And you need to just remember that this is the decimal. Anything over here is on this side of the decimal, it's a whole number. Anything over here is part of a number. So if I had 3 copies of 2/10, how much would I have?
6
6/10.
tenths.
Perfect. And I've already moved my decimal down. I have 6/10. I mean, does this place value chart not make your life so easy? Yes. I mean, I would use it all the time. And like when you sit down and take, you're going to take your star math again tomorrow, because I want to see how well you're doing with place value. I would like for everybody to sit down to that test, and one thing I want to see at your desk with you is your place value chart. Can you always make a place value chart? Yes. Okay, so on your paper it would be 6/10, but they want you to draw. So it would look like this. We already know it's just tenths, right? And I'll put 1s there just in case I have to round up. Would I ever have to like move over to the right? No, because the number would get bigger if I'm multiplying, right? So your paper should look like this. 1/10. We have 3 copies of 2, which equals 6/10. So that's 1A. Look at E. It says 5 times as much as 7/10. 5 times as much as 7/10. How do you think I'm going to do that?
5 times 7.
5 times 7, what?
5
Hmm?
35 tenths.
But what would it be? 5 times 7. Where's my 7 going to go? In the tenths. And how many times am I going to do 7? 5 times. So I can just make my dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 1 set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 2 sets. 1, 2. Do you have to just keep counting once you do this? You don't need to just keep counting, because if you keep your dots lined up, then you know when you're up to 7, right? So now I have 3 rows. I have 4. So how many tenths would that leave me with? You said that just a minute ago. Number 9. It would leave me with 35 tenths, wouldn't it? Because if I were to count all the dots, I would have 35. Well, we know we can't keep 35 in one column. When I say 30, that means I have 10 times 3, right? So I've done 10. How many times?
3. So you have
I've gone up 10 3 times, right? So every time I go up 10, it would go like what? 1, and then I'd 2, 3. Would that make 30? Yep. So you know automatically if you have 2 numbers, that's going to just come over here. Bring down a decimal. So 5 times as much as 7 tenths would be
3 and 5 tenths.
3 and 5 tenths. Now let's say that you're kind of confused about doing it this way. Well, there's another way that you can do it. And you start by counting. I know that there's 7 in this first row, so I have 7, 8, 9, 10. And every time I go to 10, what happens?
You turn that into a 1, and the 1 goes into the column to the left.
Okay, so this one moves over. And now I have 1 over here. And I've gotten rid of the ones I circled, right? Let's see if I can do 10 more. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have another one. Where is it going, everybody? To the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a little globbly glob, gloobly glob, glibbly glib. So I made that 3 times, didn't I? And now I can move that over here, because once you hit our magic number, what's our magic number? 10, you move over. If you're adding, you move to the left. If you're subtracting, you move to the right. So now I have 3 in the ones column, and how many do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if multiplying hasn't been your thing, do dots. Once you get to thousands, though, you might be sitting here all day drawing dots. So I would recommend, if you're having a hard time remembering your addition problems or multiplication problems, go online and Google flashcards, and usually they have them online, and you can play against a computer.
Do you have to do dots, or can you just multiply it on the paper?
You only have to do dots when it says solve by drawing discs. That's the only time you have to do, okay? Good question. Good question. You know, we have something new today, though, that we're going to see. I know you guys have probably all seen dots before. It says draw a model similar to the one pictured below for parts B, C, and D. Find the sum of the partial products to evaluate each expression. Boy, that sounds like a mouthful, doesn't it? So if you've noticed, it's 7 times 3 1/12. Could I do this on a place value chart? I could, probably. if I didn't remember, if I remembered that. We'll see how that would look on the place value chart. So if I take it times 7, if I have 3 ones, how many tenths do I have? 1/10. And how many hundredths? 2. So let's see how that works. I'm taking 7 times all these numbers, right? So this would be 7 times 3. What would the next one be? So what's 7 times 3? 21. What's 7 times 1? 7 times 2? Now how's that work? Now what do I need to do? What's it say to do? What do you notice between each of those numbers?
Do you just move them to the left?
You can move them to the left.
Like how if you had 15 in the tens place, you move the 1 to the ones place?
Okay, so what you're saying is if we start over here, I have 2 numbers, so I have to move 1 over, right? So what would my 7 become? If I move 1 over, what's it become? What's my 7 become? 7. What do you think?
It'll be 1/10.
8. So you mean right now I could just have 84 hundredths? Is that what you were saying? Do I have anything to move over here from the tenths to the ones? No, but I have something I need to move.
You need to move the 2 in the tens place.
So I got to move the 2 over to the tens place? Because every number has to be by itself? Was that not the easiest multiplication problem you've ever done in your life? I think that's a pretty easy way to do it. The way they would like to see you do it is to draw a table like this. And we know that the number on the outside is what we multiply by, right? And in the number 3 and 12 hundredths, how many ones do we have? 3 ones. How many tenths do we have? 1/10. How many hundredths do we have? Okay, so this is how they want you to do it. You take this number, the outside number times the top number that's in this box. Okay, so these 2 numbers go in this box. So you would do 7 times 3. What would I multiply by in the next box?
7 times 1.
And what would I multiply by in the next box?
7 times 2 hundredths.
So 7 times 3, everybody?
21.
21, oops. Don't want that. 21 plus 7 times 1/10 would be 7/10. Don't forget the ending. Plus 7 times 2?
1400.
14, and that looks like this. Equals, and then you have to add them. I kind of like number 9's method better. Did we get, that's not right. 2 plus 1, I'm in la la land today. Did we get the same answer? Yeah. I like that method though of doing it on the place value chart, and if you have two numbers, move it over and add it to the one in front of it. That seems to go a little faster, doesn't it? Maybe? Let's try another one. So that was 2A. Okay, B says 6 times 4 and 25 hundredths. So on your place value chart, go ahead and do it this way. That's our box, our table. And what are we going to put over here? 6 times, right? Do we even need to go through and put 6 times 4, 6 times 2, 6 times 5? No, we could just go to each column and say 6 times that number, couldn't we? Make our lives a whole lot easier. So what would we do? 6 times 4? 24. 6 times 2? 6 times 5? Oh, we're going to be doing a lot of moving here, aren't we? So what's the first number I need to move? I've got 2. Where do I start? Which column should I start in? Well, which column do you start in when you add? Start in the lowest because it builds up as you go, right? So we have 30. I can bring my 0 down, couldn't I? Well, what's going to happen to my 3? Move it to the tenths column. So now do I have 123 tenths? How would that work?
You put 3 on top of the 2, so it makes it 5.
Oh, so you mean I'm going to add the 3 to the 5? Okay, now what do I need to do? So I leave my 5 there and I add the 1, that would make that 25, right? Now what do I do? Take the, ooh, I made that really small, didn't I? Made it really small, didn't I? Take the 2 from the 25, did I have a number in the 10th place already? Nope. Move it over. So 6 times 4 and 25 hundredths equals 25 and 5 tenths. Do I have the same answer if I did it the way they wanted us to? So instead of having to draw a place value chart all the time on your paper, you could do it this way. We know we have a ones place. And another decimal, tenth. Did you also say 1/10 on that? Everybody? 24. What do you do with the decimal? Bring it down. 6 times 2. How does that look like in tenths? Do we need to worry about that right now? Hey. I don't know. What do you think? Should we try it? See what happens? What do you think? What do you think? Where at? In front or behind? In front? So if we have a tenth, how many numbers are behind the decimal? 1. So where would the decimal go? So should I have brought the decimal down or should I have done this? What do you think? Yeah, put the plus sign. Six times 5, what is that? What's 6 times 5? Everybody. It's in the hundredths place. How many numbers go behind the decimal? Hundredths. 2. Where did my decimal go? Try the 3. And then you add them. What do you always have to do when you add decimals? What did you learn yesterday? What do you always have to do? Line them up. There's not a decimal behind my 24, so what could I do with that 24? Yeah, I could do a decimal and put zeros because I know that the number's going to go into the hundredths place, right? Now what am I going to add to 24? What do I add now? 1 and 2/10. Could I add another 0 behind it just to make it all even? Yeah. And now what do I add?
30 hundredths.
30 hundredths. Okay. Add them together. 0 plus 0 is? 3 plus 2? What do you do with the decimal? 4 plus 1? 2 plus nothing? Same answer? Problem C. 3 copies of 4 and 65 hundredths. Now, I'm going to have you solve this. You can choose the drawing the table if you would like, how I showed you that one way, or you can use your place value chart. And then once you're done, I'm going to have you click in your answer, and we'll see how well we're doing with this. We have a place value chart in front of us. It says 3 copies of 4 and 65 hundredths. So if it says 3 copies, what's What's another way of saying that? 3 times. 3 times 4 and 65 hundredths. So I put my number in my table. And it's going to all be times 3, right? Now remember, if the other method works for you to just like carry all your numbers, that works for me too. Okay? Whichever works, as long as you're using a table. So 3 times I'll use Einstein's method. So you mind if I use your name on here since Einstein?
Okay.
Better than number 9, right? Yeah, okay. I use her method because I like her method. Miss Kleppel likes her method too. You are genius. Okay, so let's start at the end. 3 times 5 is 15. What are you going to do with the 1? Carry it. 3 times 6 is 18. But don't forget you have a 1 there, so 18 plus 1 is? What number is it? 9. Or if you did it the other way, that's fine too. So you're getting the right answer. But I have 19, so what happened to my 1? Carry it. 3 times 4 is 12. Don't forget your 1. 13. What happens to my 1? Carry it to the next column. So what is my answer? I'm impressed because yesterday we couldn't do 3 plus 2. But today you're getting 3 times 6 and 3 times 5. I'm impressed. You know why it's that way? Do you know why? Do you know why you tend to remember your multiplication facts better than your addition?
Because it's repeating addition like with a faster rate. We practiced a lot.
Well, because if you think about it, you did time tests, didn't you, for multiplication and addition? You didn't really. What do you think?
I think because now we think that addition is so easy, so we don't go back to review it. But every once in a while, we'll go back and review multiplication. Because, we just kind of learning multiplication.
Yeah. And I think one reason that a lot of you don't practice your addition is because, what's the magic number? 10. How many fingers do you have?
10.
So instead of, reviewing your addition facts, you just sit there and count on your fingers. Okay, this is how much I have. So then you kind of forget, and then you're miscounting because you forget you have 5 fingers on one hand and you count that you have 4 or something. And then it doesn't work for you, okay? Or else, like this summer I almost cut my thumb off with the saw, and I would have been out of luck because I would have no longer had 10 fingers to count. Okay, let's try another problem. Boy, we are just whizzing through this today. We might get all of the homework done and everything. If you're paying attention, you're writing everything on your paper. That would look like 100% to me, I would say. So, exit ticket number 1. Solve by drawing discs on a place value chart. 4 copies of 3/10. Well, I know I need a tenths column, right? But do I know yet if I'm going to have to carry over to the ones? I don't know, so I'm going to make 2 columns. Yes, and my other Einstein number 2, likes to do tallies, and that works too. So you just check them off. So we have ones, and tenths. And we need 4 copies of 3/10. Now if you want to do tallies, you could. I'm going to keep doing the circle thing just so that you can see my little lasso that it's going to pull 10 over. So 4 copies of 3. What does that mean? 4 times 3. I got to do this in my head. I mean, anyone who knows how to multiply knows how to do this. But what do they want you to do? Well, add a decimal, but they want you to draw it. It doesn't matter what you can do in your head. They want to see it. Because here's the deal. You can do things in your head now and you think, oh, that's really easy. But then guess what happens? It gets harder. And if you don't know how to do it with the easy numbers because you didn't practice it that way, then you're not going to remember what to do when you get to harder numbers. So 4 times 3/10. How many tenths do I have in each set that I'm going to make? How many tenths will be in each set? 3. So here's a set. 1, 2, 3. And I just make the circles because they say draw discs. So if you want to do tallies, you can. Einstein 2. Not to be confused with Einstein 1. I have 1 set. How many sets do I need? Einstein 3.
It says 4 copies of 3/10, so you're going to need to do 3/10 4 times.
Okay, so I'm going to need 4, right? Right now I have 1. There's another set. And see, if you keep, like I said, if you keep them lined up, then you don't have to keep counting to make sure you have enough, okay? Because if you have to keep counting, pretty soon everybody's going to be taking their shoes off and using their toes too, and it's going to get stinky in here, so we don't want that. That's nasty, okay? Shoes off. Let's count how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Oh, good. So I'm going to get rid of how many? And where are those going to go? So how much does that leave me with? 1. Don't forget, when you go from the ones place to the tenths, you make a decimal. And what do I have left over here? 2. So my answer for 4 copies of 3/10, which your paper needs to look just like this right now, would be 1 2/10. Okay, do we have that made? Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, that you need to memorize that model because you're going to see it. And right now in your paper, you see something that looks like this for number 2. That's supposed to say hundredths, okay? Once I start writing blue on blue, it doesn't work. Anyways, my video cuts off there, so hundredths. So the problem says 3 times 9 and 63 hundredths. How would I set that problem up? What would go in the first blank over here? 3, because everything's going to be multiplied by 3. So what's going to go in the 1? Well, could you use your place value chart right now to look at this? Could you? Could you write this up here like this? And what number's in the 1's place? 9. And what number is in the 10th's place? And what number is in the 100th's place? Hundreds. 3. So now what do I write in the boxes below? Okay, so 3 times, everybody? 3 times. 3 times. It says, and then find the product. Remember, if you want, you can do it like this. You can say 3 times 9, everybody? 27 plus 3 times 6? 18, but it's tenths. So how many numbers are going to be behind a decimal? 18. But you need to make sure you have one number behind a decimal. Plus 3 times 3? 9 hundredths. How many numbers are behind decimal and hundredths? 2. Right now I have 1, so how do I make that extra 1? Add a 0 in front of behind. Yep. Then you add that. Or you could do the shortcut way. Three times 3? 3 times 6? 18. What do I do with my 1? Carry it over here. 3 times 9? Plus 1. That's fast. I like that, fast. Or you come down here and say 27 plus 1 and 8/10 plus 9, whoops, 9 hundredths You get the same answer? Yep, you get the same answer. Okay, your homework, which you'll be able to, I'm sure no one's going to have homework tonight because you'll be able to complete it when you come back in here. If it says to draw something, you draw it. if it has a big space, what do you think you're going to need to put there? Yes, draw a chart. So you're going to draw charts on all of these. Your homework assignment, because we've already done part of it, and if you did exactly what we did, then you haven't missed anything yet, which is awesome. Your homework assignment is going to be, so lesson 11, it should say that at the top, homework. You're going to do 1A. So circle 1A and F. So how many are you doing in number 1? 2. On 2, you're going to do A. And if you look at the next page, there's a B. Do you see that where it says 6 and 6 times 7 and 49? Okay, so circle B. And D. So how many math problems should you have circled right now? 5. That's all you're going to do.